please don't hear any of this, Brad.
And Dad's like, I got the fuck out of there. I was like, oh man, you didn't partake?
Do you fear death?
Oh, one of the greatest lines of all time.
I've got a job to it. I've got a job to it.
Trumpinator 2020.
Making me 30 signs of red sauce.
Listened so much. Are you
That needs two, motherfucker.
Coach Harper, episode 72.
72.
Thank
all right.
you for coming on, man.
That's great to be here, man.
What an exciting year you guys had.
Well, I tell you, it's one of those rides that you go on maybe once in a career, but you know, our kids played really well.
Oh, absolutely.
All year long, you know,
Yeah.
and having a coaching staff change the way we did, and having, you know, 7 new coaches,
Sure.
all hired probably mid-June to bond together and come together, and we had some struggles the first couple games, and other than that, I thought the staff did a good job, and I thought our kids really did a great job.
Had some incredible games.
Incredible. I mean, you can go back to the Morrilton game where we scored, what was it, 78 or 75 or whatever it was.
I watched that on YouTube.
You know, and then the semifinal game where we got 2 onside kicks and came back and win that one. So, you know, they just never gave up. You know, our quarterback really did a good job. Lester did an outstanding job directing the offense, and you know, we did enough defensively to keep us in things. And
Yeah.
we need to do better than that, though. But you know, for the most part, I thought we had a great year.
Great season.
Great
Which is
season.
ironic because I hadn't really paid attention to farm football in 25 years. My middle one started playing last year.
Okay.
So he played 5th grade and then 6th grade this year. And, of course, me and Stillwell have reconnected. His son's on the team, obviously, so I'm a little bit more invested. So I've been paying attention all year, and it's been wild, man. It's been really exciting to watch, and proud of you guys, man.
You know,
Congrats.
Coach Tice, you know, I've gone through in my career. You know, this is my 28th year here at Farmington, and you know, started with Brian Law, obviously, and a mentor of mine, and.
Did you come out of Clarksville with him?
I did.
Okay.
I came with him. Well, actually, you know, I coached down there with him for 4 years, and then I went to Lincoln to be the defensive coordinator there, and then knowing that he had something in the works of coming here.
Sure.
So that was kind of a thing that happened that just kind of fell in my lap, where he took that job. He brought me with him, and so, you know, between him, you know, I worked with some great coaches. You know, you go back to Kenny Harriman. I coached at Siloam. I was the secondary coach at Siloam Springs. Let's see, who else have we got? We got, you know, Mike Adams. I learned a lot from Mike.
Yeah, sure.
You know, J.R. Eldridge, again. I even worked for Kevin Johnson over at Lincoln for a year before he went and got hooked up with Gus up in Springdale. Yeah.
No kidding.
So, you know, I've been through some really great coaches and learned a lot from all of them, to be honest with you.
What was it that got you into what was your first coaching experience, I guess, is my first question.
That's great. I was in the military at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, with the 101st Airborne back in 1990. And
how long did you serve?
4.
Nice.
Well, 5 really, if you count. I got recalled and got when I got back to the university, I got recalled and had to do another 8 or 9 months.
Right. Well, thank you for your service.
Well, I appreciate it. And then I was the brigade commander's driver, which sounds weird, but they always had their guys that they picked, and this guy happened to be from Arkansas. And he liked to coach Pee Wee football.
Okay.
And so we had a Pee Wee football team on post with a lot of our officers and a lot of our enlisted guys. Kids were on the team, and we coached that. And that was my really first experience, you know, coaching. And I thought, you know, I'd like to do this. I don't want to do the military for a career. I just thought that, you know, I'd go to the military, do what I needed to do, get back, go to college, that type of thing. I wasn't ready to go to college right out of high school
Yeah,
anyway. And
yeah.
like most people, to
I
be
wasn't
honest
either.
with
I
you.
took 2 years off, yeah.
And so anyway, that was my first coaching experience. And then I got back here and volunteered at Lincoln for a year. Then while I was in school, then I volunteered at Prairie Grove for a year with Danny Absher.
Yeah.
Again, learned a lot from Danny, Hall of Fame coach. He's going to be a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so then my wife got accepted to dental hygiene school down in Little Rock, so we moved closer, and I got hooked up with Brian Law at Clarksville and coached with him for 4 years, and then graduated, and then took the defensive coordinator's job at Lincoln, and then took the defensive coordinator's job here at Farmington, and I was defensive coordinator all the way up until, I guess, J.R. Eldridge's second year. I was his coordinator the first year, and then he wanted to bring his own guys in, which I understood. That's great. And I was trying to step back a little bit from that anyway, because I was the head baseball coach too. So,
right.
Anyway, it's been a wild and a long ride, to be honest with you.
What was it about coaching Pee Wee that made you want to stick with it?
I think we were successful. It was fun coaching the kids. I was coaching defensive line, and we had 4 or 5 coaches that were helping us, and the kids. I liked that experience. I like, going to practice. I still like going to practice. I told my wife the other day. She asked me, when are you going to be done with this? And I don't know. I think that when I stop liking to go, or I stop liking going to practice, that will be the time, and that's not the time yet. So it was just the experience with those little kids, and I thought that I was a decent athlete at Prairie Grove when I was in high school.
So you graduated Prairie Grove?
Oh yeah.
What year?
1987.
87, all right.
Along with Coach Evanston, who was their basketball coach for a long time over at Prairie Grove. We graduated together, and I was a decent athlete back then. I played football, basketball, baseball, and ran track, and so it's something I've always wanted to do, something I've been good at, and you don't have to be very smart to do what I do.
I
to
don't
be
know
honest
about that,
with you.
man. It's
let's just be honest.
It's such a strategic game.
Yes,
it really is.
Yes.
That's what I love about it. I mean, it's chess with gladiators.
There's no doubt. I mean,
every single play, there's so many layers on layers of trying to sell this or that. I mean,
there's no doubt
so
about
complex.
That. I think back when I was a coordinator, how much work was involved trying to stop people and do things, and how much film I've watched in the 28 years I've been here, or 25 I've been here. This is my 26th, but just all those film sessions and things that we had to do, and back in the day, and we've had some really good groups here, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and you're looking at this and trying to get through. I mean, people are setting up disguises, trying to cover things up. I mean, there's so many levels of deception. It really is, to me, honestly the most fascinating sport out there, and it doesn't even come close. But so when you went to school, what all is involved with getting a degree and that leads down that path?
Well, I think there's several things. There's a lot of coaching classes you have to take. There's a lot of health. My degree was in health and physical education, like most coaches back then were in, and you had to take a bunch of physiological classes, a bunch of health-related classes, and then add on your coaching, whatever, basketball, football, whatever the classes were there, how to teach PE and those types of things. And I did that. I did a year up here at the university, got recalled to the Army, got married after I got back from the Army, and then Jana, my wife, she got accepted to dental hygiene school down in Little Rock, and so it's just those things. So I went to Arkansas Tech. I graduated from Arkansas Tech.
Right on. Obviously, one thing that resonated with me is when you talked about just having fun with those kids. I didn't coach last year, and then but I went to practice and I watched, and I was like, man, that would be fun, just because my son was on the team. But then you start getting invested in these other kids, and you build relationships with them, and man, it was so rewarding.
I think back to some of our first teams here, and Trey Bailey goes back in my thoughts because he was one of my first guys in baseball, and that I'm really still close to this day. And you
That's
see
awesome.
you see these guys, and especially this year because a lot of the old guys. I hate to say old, but some of the old guys, they showed up to these games and they came and they came in the office and a lot of them hadn't seen the new indoor and the things like that we have here and to show them around and to hug their neck, it was a great experience.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. It's also neat, especially at Farmington, where you have a lot of grandkids of the guys that run that state championship team.
That is true.
Never going to hear the end of it.
That is true. And a lot of those guys reached out to us.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, when you come to Farmington, you have expectations. You hear about Coach Holland and 72, 73 championship teams and you want to win championships and to be as honest as I could be here, after 14, 15 years, I just didn't think it was going to be Farmington's time ever again.
Yeah.
And it may not be, but to get as close, in 2013, we went to the semifinals with Mike, and we got beat at I can't remember, somewhere down south, but I can't remember who exactly beat us. But I always thought that we just didn't have the speed here that other teams have, and Malvern we got beat by Malvern, and so I thought to myself, we could just never be able to do it. And then to go to 5A, and things have changed a lot, and to get over some of the humps that we got over, now our kids kind of believe that we can do some things, and that's exciting. I think that Coach Tice said it the other day when he did an interview that now that we know that we can do it, now our kids now kind of expect that we're going to do it.
Why not?
So I'm kind of, that's excitement in the football program, and
they've got demonstrated success now.
Sure,
they know they can
sure.
be in that conversation.
And granted, we've had some success. Believe me, all through Brian's career and Mike's career, and then when JR came, things got a little bit, I guess, turned up to another level.
Yeah.
And then, he took another job, and then Coach Tice came in, and I've known Coach Tice for 25 years.
I know guys that played for him at Huntsville.
Yeah, and I went. Him and Brian Law was his defensive coordinator back in the day at Harris.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
So, we have a connection, and you always hear the horror stories of Coach Tice where he's really intense, and he is. Don't get me wrong, but he really knows how to pull a group of kids together and then make them feel like they're loved and appreciated. So I really learned how to coach differently. I was all fiery when I first got here to Farmington, and I still am, don't get me wrong, when it needs to. But there's other ways to coach, and I think I found that out through Brian and through Coach Tice.
Right. And when you're in the middle of a season like that, do you even realize what's happening?
You really don't. The first
because you're going game to game.
Exactly. The first 2
week.
weeks, we play shallow right off the bat, we get our butts whipped, and everybody's kind of down. And then you go the next week and you give up a bunch of points and you score a bunch of points. So we thought we could be good offensively. We had to get a couple things done defensively that we need to adjust. And and then there's Prairie Grove, and then you got to win that game. That's
absolutely
a game that you have to win. And so we won that game, and I thought to myself, we're showing some progress, and I coach defensive line now, and really got 4 or 5 good players, up there. I got them all back but one next year. So, it's promising, but you don't really think about. And when you turn around, then you're in game 7 and you're in game 8,
Absolutely.
and then you start thinking about playoffs and
where
we're going to be and winning the conference championship, and that was a big thing. And then we get home games, and then it just turned out that there was an upset, and we got another home game in the semis, which helped us tremendously.
Sure.
So
it felt electric there.
Oh
the
yeah,
last several
my
weeks.
God,
I mean,
it was
my goodness.
unbelievable. It was something I'll always remember.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people will. How much do you think Gus Malzahn changed Northwest Arkansas's football? Because when you came in '99,
Sure.
we had been in the wishbone since
Right.
like the '70s. My dad played against Coach Holland. He graduated Prairie Grove in '77.
I
So
got you.
he played against those guys,
Sure.
and it was just a smash mouth. They came out and they just beat you aggressively, and they were disciplined, right? But then you get into now it's late 90s.
Right.
And you're seeing, football evolves.
Spread
It always
and,
evolves.
yeah, sure.
You watch the NFL at all, you see year to year, sometimes there's trends that go away, like the Wildcat.
Right.
You have something that'll kind of take it over for a while, but the game has changed. It evolves. What was that process like coming in from 99 when you came in to now? Was it well, I guess the first question is, how do you think Gus changed it?
Well, I think, funny story about Gus. Gus offered me a job about, the year we went to the finals in baseball, so that was 2007. So 2006, Gus offers me a job to be a sophomore coach at Harper because they were just starting.
Wow,
Harper.
yeah.
And I went for an interview with him, and I was going to do that. And so I got to go to practice and watch Gus and watch the things that he does. And he is so tremendous.
So you've seen it firsthand.
Oh, God.
It's the
yeah.
way.
And it is by the book, and everybody's doing something, and he's directing, and it changed me how to approach things. But, you look at the trends in football, and you look at wishbone, wing tee,
Yeah.
which is still successful for Danny.
Sure.
You go to spreads, no back. You go to all these types, all the wings, all those types of things. And then you go back, and now people are running spread, and they're running, the triple option out of it. They're just faking the deal, and they'll throw it out there to the flat, or quarterback will run. So, I think you're right. I think it all goes in circles here. It's just a different way to do things. And it's hard to keep up and to adjust to the offenses and the way they do things. Danny's changed. Danny.
Well, you have to. You have to evolve, or you
do.
die. Yeah.
Wing tee, but now he's more formations and
Right.
and doing some things that I've never seen him do. That he does a tremendous job. His offensive
He's done a great
coordinator's
job adapting.
Oh my God,
or he wouldn't be there still.
Exactly. And so, I think that to go back to the question, I think Gus did a tremendous job as far as showing people that there's other ways to win football games.
Absolutely.
And that was the thing that I took from him when I went to about 4 or 5 practices before I decided I wasn't going to do this because I wanted to stay at Farmington. I always wanted my girls to grow up in one spot.
Yeah,
Be
I
solid.
Respect that. I respect that.
And not move them around like coaches do sometimes,
Sure.
which is their choice. I just wanted my girls to be solid, and when we went and talked about that with my wife, we decided that we needed to stay here, which was great because we went to the finals in baseball the next year. We got beat, but we went to the finals, and then our baseball program's been successful, and so I've had a blessed career, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting that you turned that down for those reasons. That's really fascinating. I think
I'm probably one of the only people in the state that's ever turned down a job from Gus Malzahn.
I think it worked out all right for you, though. I think
It's
you're
been
doing
all right. I could be at Auburn or Florida State or wherever he is right now, but I'll just take what I got.
To me, it was interesting because playing high school football, you played opponents that were very similar.
Sure.
I mean, we were playing Lincoln, Gravett, Gentry
Sure.
back then, right? And then I remember you start hearing about this Shiloh team, and we played them in, we played them my junior year before you were here, and then
Right.
1 year when you were there. And I just remember by halftime you were so exhausted.
Yeah.
Because they had a no huddle offense.
Sure.
And nobody'd seen that. And so these guys are in just such shape. And you're still walking back from the huddle. They're already lined up, ready to go. And it was so different and so wild.
What cracks me up about Shiloh is I remember playing them when I was at Lincoln, and they were just starting
Yeah.
and weren't very good.
Right.
And then Gus comes in there, and then they just explode, and it's just.
And it wasn't even close.
But,
I mean,
it
was blowout.
And again, I don't want to say anything that is going to get me in trouble on this thing, but I think that they have an unfair advantage that we don't have in Farmington and in Prairie Grove or in Berryville
I
or
think a lot of
Gravett
people
or
feel that
wherever.
way.
You pull from a different
Yeah.
demographic than what we pull from,
agree.
and so it's hard. But now with the different rules of that you can transfer, you
Right.
know, and then it's kind of back to, I wouldn't say a level playing ground, but it's better. But,
Yeah.
you know, I just never have liked Shiloh, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, I don't think many farmers. I don't think anybody around here does, other than Shiloh. But that's it was wild to play against that because they had those, as I recall, they'd have a stand and they just flip over
Oh, yeah,
signs, and so
yeah.
they're ready to go. I remember Huntsville was tied with them at halftime one year, and everybody was just saying, "Let's go!" And then Shiloh comes out in the second half and just blows them out of the water.
yeah,
It
it's
wasn't
just
even-
it's so tough because you got to be in base defenses a lot because they go so fast and then you can't do certain things, or it's hard. Now people have adapted to that, obviously.
right. Well, my next
know.
question was going to be like, why do you think Gus wasn't more successful as a head coach?
In high school or in college?
No, like just in college.
Well, I think
'cause
I
you think a guy like that would go straight to the top.
He did a great job at Auburn. To
He
be
did,
honest
he
with
did.
you, they played for national championship, got
Mhm.
beat by Florida State. Did a really good job at Arkansas. To be honest with you,
Fantastic job at Arkansas,
He had
certainly.
some clashes with some head coaches.
Sure.
And I get that. I think,
But he was also so new and so fresh.
Oh, and
it's like
I agree with
everybody was
that.
adapting to
I
him.
agree with that.
At the time. He
You
was
know-
one of those guys that, regardless of what happened after, he changed the game.
I think in Gus's offense, to be honest with you, it takes certain personnel. You have to have a running, passing quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have wide receivers and running backs that do a certain thing. Your linemen can't be typical linemen because they're going so fast, and they can't be 300-pounders.
Right.
And I think that some of that limited him. But you go back and look at that team that played as 2013, 14, 15 that played Florida State in the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys, I mean, that offense was deadly, and that's what I think. I don't know. Sometimes you when you recruit like college teams do, and he does, you miss on quarterbacks, and you have to get, you may not get the guy in there that you want. Now with the transfer deal,
Yeah.
and I think it's a lot easier to get the guy that you want. But I think his is a specialized offense.
Yeah,
that,
very much so.
That takes a lot.
And also, people, like you mentioned earlier, people adapt to it.
Yes,
and
they
as
know.
you study him over the years.
Sure, and they're people are getting bigger, faster, and stronger, and Gus relies a bunch on spreading the field, and
Right.
but now you got better athletes.
Well, I've never actually met Gus. You have. My theory has always been head coach, especially at that level, is a very political position.
I agree.
You're in the front of the media. You're dealing with all kinds of different things pulling you different directions, and obviously perception and public relations kind of a thing.
Sure.
He just strikes me as just not a political guy.
No, and when I just remember my interview with him, he was very matter of fact and asked me a few questions. He even got me up on the board and said, "Okay, draw this, and how are you going to defend it?" And things like that. So, but again, the other side of him that people don't see is that very nice, very helpful to young coaches. Has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
My wife and his wife were friends when they were at Springdale and at Shiloh, and got to know him on a different level than other people got to know him.
Yeah, I hear he's treated pretty nastily when he was at Arkansas, and that
He
really
was.
really
He was.
bothers me to this day.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of that sometimes is jealousy, because
100% egos, man.
he's getting all the attention and I'm not getting the attention, and in this business.
And he was successful too.
Exactly. In this business, you're going to have egos. You're going to.
Sure.
But sometimes
Especially at that level.
you got to put it aside.
I mean, it
for
takes
the
an
best.
ego to get to that level.
Oh, I
to
agree.
be frank.
No, there's no doubt.
It really does.
There's no doubt.
Just like politicians, you don't get to the top without having to, compromise and kind of change character. I mean, the higher you go, I mean, I feel like the more you really got to want it.
Oh,
man.
I'm telling you. You do.
Ego.
And it takes a lot away from families, and
100%.
you think about high school and what we work, and with JR, I'm just giving you examples.
Yeah.
With JR, we would go in there somewhere around 9 or 10 o'clock. The rest of the staff had to be there at 1, and then we'd leave out of there about 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, and that was just hard, and not that you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying that, but we just don't do it that way anymore.
Right.
Coach Tice is different, and we get things done, and obviously it was successful. But there's time away from the family, and I missed a lot of my girls growing up.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And but they do. On the other flip side of that is my girls got to go to a lot of things that people didn't get to go to. My daughter stood on the sidelines with me at the state championship game. Just earlier this year, my other daughter was a cheerleader, and they were involved in our baseball program, and so they got to do some things that other kids didn't get to do. So
Yeah, that
there's
is
some
really
good things
cool.
about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you play Madden?
I do a little with my with my oldest daughter, who is better than I am, to be honest with you.
Isn't that a part of fatherhood?
It is.
It's both rewarding and disappointing when they get better than you.
I'm telling you,
You're proud of them, but damn it.
I think she works very hard at trying to beat me at that.
Yes.
So, she, when she moved out and, she graduated from Arkansas Tech too, and then she's a nurse up at Washington Regional. She has her own house with a roommate, and we don't play as much as we used to.
Sure.
But those are good times back then.
Well, I am already dreading the days when I don't have my boys here. 'Cause,
Sure.
like, right now we start doing Madden tournaments after New Year's, right before playoffs, and so everybody plays everybody, take the seeds, rank them, right?
Sure.
And when I first started playing with my middle one, I was waxing him, and then all of a sudden it starts getting a little closer, and now I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm fighting for my life, and then I'm getting blown out. What are you doing? And I had to adapt, and old school, when I started playing, you had A, B, left, right, up,
sure,
down, right?
sure.
And now these kids are learning all these combos and smoking me. I didn't even know these games offered those things.
Exactly.
And so then I start studying, like, what
do
are
you
these
do that?
combos, and so now it's real competitive, man.
I'm sure it is.
It gets intense.
I'm sure it is.
And it's a lot of fun, but I didn't know if you played any. I didn't know. It's always funny to me, like, do coaches play Madden?
I
And how close is Madden to, like, the plays,
there's some good plays on there, to be
There's
honest.
some
with
awesome
you,
plays.
But, I watched a lot of football on the weekends. A lot of my stuff that I got from my defensive playbook comes from blitzes from
Yeah.
different college teams, and learning how to, my theory was that you had to overload sides, and when you overload sides, they couldn't block everybody. And I'm a big slant guy, and so we're going to slant the fronts, and so those things were successful. And the more you watched, the more you did, and even Madden, could help with those situations, to be honest.
Oh yeah, 100%. I miss Madden the most of anybody in the football world.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got a lot more time to spend with him than I did. What was it like listening to Madden, like when you were younger?
it was awesome.
Yeah. His intensity.
He did such a good job. And I remember when I was in the military, we'd have a little common area in our barracks where we'd all go watch NFL football on Sunday.
Yeah.
And you always you heard him and those things, and it was great. And I even really got to, when I was a little kid, obviously you got to see him coach, because I'm that old, and so
right. You're one of those old guys.
I am an old guy, and I don't want to be, but I am. So
you color your hair, or have you?
No, it's natural. It's
all right.
natural. I do have some gray in it.
There's some,
but I've been very fortunate. I've lost some up in here. This is what I'm worried about. I'm gonna lose
there's
some more.
people a whole lot worse off than that.
But no, it's
you look good, man.
I appreciate it.
You honestly don't look any differently than when you did in 99, actually.
I've gained a few pounds, and I've calmed down a little bit, to be honest with you. So.
One thing I've always remembered about you was me and Jamie Greenlee used to have these big bushy goatees, and I remember we were walking in together, and you said something to the effect of, "Good God, these kids are growing bigger beards than I can."
I'm telling you, man, it's unbelievable. Gosh,
that was funny, man.
And you look at the kids now.
Yeah.
Gosh, they're so much more mature and stronger, and they don't look like, back in the day where you had. When I was at Lincoln, we didn't have anybody that looked like us on our football team.
Yeah.
Maybe one.
Right.
That looked like a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman. And these kids, it's unbelievable. Even to watch, watch Parkview in the state championship game. They're just unbelievable athletes.
Yeah.
And it's just changed so much.
Was it obviously, you look at what you guys are doing. I watched one of your practices. They had the elementary coaches up
Sure.
there, and we watched one of the practices, and I'm just going, man, this is nuts. To see it on, when you see it on TV, it's one thing. But
Sure.
when you're seeing it, and you're talking about these checkdowns, these quarterbacks at a high school level are asked to do a lot.
They are, and
you have to be a sophisticated, smart person to run that.
And
position.
Aiden, in his credit, is a smart young man and makes great decisions, or made great decisions this year. But to do a little bit, at the front of practice where we got ones-on-ones, and we don't do that a lot, but we did, and for us to give a blitz look and him to check out, it's amazing. Coach Watley is our offensive coordinator. He came with Coach Tice. He did a great job. I mean, he really kind of mentored Aiden, and Aiden's just a great athlete.
Yeah.
He's just a great freaking athlete. He plays center field for me, baseball wise. He's going to be I guess we got another year with him. It's going to be awesome. So I can't wait for it.
Well, I was just say, it's just wild to think about. He's got a lot more on his plate than, say, a Nate Wetzel.
Oh, there's no
offense,
doubt.
Nate, but it's the game.
And
is
Nate
just
was a great
changed.
athlete
He was.
back then. I mean,
Absolutely.
he was.
But it's just so complex now.
Yes.
At such depth, and I know it's not quite as complicated as that, but back then there used to be a separation. I
Sure.
mean, that was like
Right.
up here, and you were doing X's and O's with high school, and high school now is
It's just slowly trickling down. Where you give, you think you got a too high safety look, and they're gonna rotate out of it, or you think they're in zone and they're in matchup man, or they're in quarters and they can turn to something else. You got a blitz look from one side and they bring it from the other. There's so many things that you can do that
any scenario.
Yeah,
really.
I mean. And then offense is the same way. They can motion guys around and do some things to get people in binds, and it's not, obviously it's not where I think obviously the college level is or the pro level is, but it's slowly trickling down to they're doing so much. It's unbelievable.
And I don't. You could probably answer this for me. Do they? Because back when we lifted, everybody just went around. You rotated. Sure. Do they do specific lifting for different positions now?
When JR got here, we've separated offense and defense. So, I can't really speak for what the offense does. Defense does the same old type of, workout that you rotate in, but a lot of it's done on their own. They know what to do. And they know what's expected, and so a lot of it's changed where it's a lot of core stuff, but it's also a lot of agility things that we do in those lifting sessions, and again it's changed where we are 3 days a week in June, and then we're from 7:30 to 9:30 lift run football, and then we're 4 days in July, same thing, lift run football plus 7-on-7s, team camps, whatever else. And so it's just expanded so much that there is no really summer except for the 2-week dead period.
Right.
So, it's just beginning to, I guess, develop all your time in doing football things, and then you got other coaches. What's different between college and high school is that you got other coaches, they have to coach other things. Coach Scribner and I go to baseball.
Yep.
You have, a couple of our coaches go to soccer, a couple of them go to track. And, then you really got 2 or 3 that are the core of the football, and they keep all the other guys until we get back in the spring.
Yeah.
And then we have spring football after baseball is over with, and then we go out in the summer and here we go again. So.
Yeah.
It's a tedious process, and it's a thing that you have to adapt to and get used to, because it didn't used to be that way. We used to when Mike was here, he'd have a couple 3 days a week where you could lift in the mornings or you lift at night, and he was there or I was there, but all the coaching staff's there every day when we have these workouts. So we can do our workout, and then we go and we do football. We either install defense or offense or watch film or whatever we do. So
Well, it was wild when they moved the field. First of all,
yes,
you know, and
yes.
and then that's where the elementary practice is now.
Right.
You know, I was over at my parents for Christmas, and we were watching like a 7th grade football game or something from the home, and you know, obviously that gym's gone or replaced now. It was before the field house was even there. There's a little
Right.
white concession stand down there. It's just so wild because first moved the field, and then last year's I didn't even know that indoor thing was back there until
did you
last
not?
year. No, I had no
Yeah.
reason. You know,
Yeah, true.
but
Then
then I go back and I'm like, man, this is nice.
Oh, it's we have to think about, and granted, when you walk in here in 1999, like I walked in here,
Yeah.
and we have an indoor or we have a field house. A lot of people didn't even have
That's
field
true.
houses.
That's true.
You know, and so you're thinking, and our field was nice back then. It was.
Yeah,
It
we had a
was-
good
You know,
field.
we expanded the bleachers and did some things and to make it look good, but then
We all took that field seriously.
yeah,
too,
you know,
man.
that's a credit
Y'all
to
put
our,
a lot of all of you guys. You,
you know,
Coach Osnes, I remember
well,
just really.
Yeah, it's a process.
It
man.
is.
And then to move to this type of situation where, you know, when they were building it, and I was thinking, gosh, dang, how big is this going to be? You know, and then to put the indoor and to have that area where now you can practice when it's cold or raining or whatever.
You're
Own
right. Yeah,
film
yeah, yeah.
room or weight room's huge. We've got coaches' offices, you know, training offices. We've got cheerleading studio
Mm-hmm.
in the back of that thing. We got, I mean, there's so many things that we have that we're blessed with here at Farmington that I just didn't think was possible when I walked in here in '99. To be honest,
You guys are still using VHS tapes to watch film, right?
no, we are not. You know,
That's gotten a little more
we
sophisticated.
got the
Y'all
huddle.
have drones now, right?
We have drones that film practice. We have. We
So you're
have
filming
offensive-
practices even.
Oh yeah, we film practice, watch film every day. So we film practice, offense and defense both. You know, everything's on huddle. So if you go, you know, where you used to have to go exchange film with someone, it's just right there at your fingertips. All
Yeah.
you know, you can get whatever game you want. You know, if you look on top of our press box, it's got a camera that does practices, it does games without anybody being up there to do it. It's just unbelievable what
Just technologically,
yeah, I mean,
what's
it's just-
advanced.
and we got
I
end
mean,
zone
YouTube.
cameras.
I was able to watch every
Sure.
game this year.
Sure. And we got end zone cameras, you know,
Yeah.
and we got 2 different views, and now we got we got this big red case. It's got a big, I don't know, 60-inch TV that we we do all kinds of sideline things like they do in college, where you got iPads and you're looking at views and see replays and do all those types of things, so you can adjust. So it's a good thing. It's just it's a lot of work, to be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely. So, what is your favorite sport as just a fan?
You know, I really like college football. I've always been a
Okay.
college football guy. You know, when I was stationed at Fort Stewart, which is south of Savannah, Georgia, you can only get Georgia Bulldogs and Florida State Seminoles. So I became
Right.
a Florida State fan. I've always been an Arkansas fan. I got season tickets to
It's a
Arkansas
very
games.
regional sport.
You know, but I just love college football. I don't like the fact that what it's going into.
Okay, that was going to be my
with
next question. How do
NIL
you
and-
feel about all the
You know,
NIL
I
and
think that number one, the transfer portal has to be changed. You can't let them. You're doing a disservice to the bowl system if you let them.
Yeah.
If you let them switch schools, you know, there has to be some adjustments. Now, I'm all for paying kids that are going to college. I don't have a problem with that. Now,
Yeah.
some of them are making millions of dollars, and I think that's ludicrous. But you know, I think
But if
that,
people are willing to pay it,
yeah, you know,
You know,
I think that's you know, but can we compete with that? Can we compete with the Alabama at Arkansas? I'm just talking about Arkansas. Can we compete with Alabama? Can we compete with Texas A&M, who you know and I know have more money than we do? And so how do you do that? And again, I think we taken steps in the basketball program when we hired the guy from Kentucky, and then Mr. Tyson got involved and started doing some money there. But you know, in order for it to do right, we got one of the biggest. You know, I guess Walmart is one of the global companies that could do whatever they wanted to. with that type of thing, and have Tyson here, and have some more companies that can really kick into those things. So I think that
there's a lot.
we have to get on board.
There's a lot
with
of vendor
that.
companies
yeah,
down
you know,
here too.
I get it, but NIL is going to change football, and it is what it is. But I think that college football is always exciting. It's always. I mean, I watched it last night, and watched. I remember who I even watched. I watched Notre Dame the other day win their game, and then last night watched Ohio State beat Texas, and it's just different, but it's still college football to me.
See, that's precisely why I don't like college football as much. I've always felt like whoever has the money is going to be able to get an advantage, and then once you get a legacy system like a Nick Saban in place, every kid in the country wants to play for you.
It's hard.
So you've got literally the pick of the litter, whoever you want to get. And so once you get into this championship cycle, who doesn't want to go play for a championship coach?
Yeah.
You know, whereas the NFL's got its problems, but there's a lot more parity.
No, I agree with that.
Than in college.
I agree with
my
that.
personal thought.
No, I agree with that.
So being a Razorback fan is ultimately a defeatist attitude,
well,
you know.
I got you.
And to hear the logic of this is the year for this reason, it's like I don't think so.
No, I don't think we can compete in the SEC year in and year out.
No.
There may be, you know, people say, well, you know, in 2000 whatever we won the Sugar Bowl and we were 10-2 and or 11-2 or whatever we were, and that's great. That's an anomaly to me. I think
it's an anomaly, and all that matters is a national championship.
You know, exactly. And so I think that you got to do. They got to tweak this system a little bit, in my opinion. And they're not going to listen to me because I'm a nobody. But anyway, I think that you have to tweak that system tweak that system somehow, and make it better. But I don't know where it's going to turn into a mini pro football is what it's going to turn into.
Well, that's where it's heading.
So
I wonder what it would look like if you made it to where you had to go to a school within a region.
You know,
where you really localized it rather than just feed out of anywhere.
You know, then certain colleges that have an advantage because you got Florida going to Florida State, Miami, and all the colleges down there.
Certainly be you'd have to
Texas,
really think that through.
You know, you gotta be careful how you do things like that. But I see your point.
Yeah, no, it'd take a lot of thinking through. But I just, like you said, there need to be some changes.
Oh, there has
needs to go down.
There has to be.
So who's your NFL team? You got anybody?
You know, I really don't. You know, I used to follow Tampa Bay a little bit.
Yeah.
And New Orleans because everybody says Kansas City's closed in Dallas, and I never got into the Cowboys. I never really got into Kansas City. I follow it during the playoffs. I don't, you know, we work on Sundays, so it's hard to watch football on Sundays for me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so I just don't follow it that much, to be honest.
So what do you, I mean, obviously your life is sports, and that's your career. It's also a passion of yours. Like, what do you do for fun, man? When you got a vacation or you got time to yourself, what are you doing?
Well, I play a lot of golf. I got friends, you know, that I went to high school with that we play golf together, and
that's a sport too, man.
It is. I do that. If we go on vacation, we're going to one or two places, and that's the beach, or we're going to Disney World because my girls grew up being Disney World people, and they still love going. We just went last year. My daughters are 25 and 18, so you know. So anyway, they love going. And to be honest, I love going. So because I just get away from everything I got to think about, and just concentrate on them and having fun. So, you know, that's the things we do. We like to go to the beach, to be honest. And my parents used to live down in Florida. They've moved back here to Springdale now, but they were down in Santa Rosa Beach, which is just outside of Destin. And we used to go down there and do that a lot. And we still do go to the beach a bunch. But, you know, as far as other than that, you know, I don't read books, and I read any type of book that has to do with somebody's philosophy on how to win. You know, I want to learn how to do a better job than that.
So if you read those types of books, do you glean a lot of good stuff out of those?
You know, you can.
I guess what I'm asking is, I could see where people could just kind of put those out as hoaxes. You know, like these are these keys. But do you feel like some are legit?
I'm looking for every time I read a book, you know, and I started with Bobby Bowden back in the day, and just to see how he developed a program, how he treated, what his philosophies were. And then you go back and you think about how your philosophy is, or how you're going to develop your philosophy. And JR had a philosophy, obviously, and Brian. Every coach has a philosophy of some sort.
Yeah.
But that's what I read those books for is to find out, how do I tweak my philosophy? How do I make it better? How do I get kids to buy into what we're doing from a 56-year-old, trying to coach an 18-year-old now, and I think that's what you have to do. You have to get something that they can relate to, and buy into what you get, and really they really got to know. And I really found this out early. They got to know that you care about them, and I think that's what's helped me get through my career is some of those things.
That's awesome. What about music? What are you jamming to?
I'm a country music guy.
Are you?
My daughters, they go to a bunch of concerts and I never go, but my wife, she likes country music, so that's what we listen to. Basically, if we're going on a car trip, that's what we're listening to.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who. I mean, it just, my daughters, they have 4 or 5 guys they listen to, and usually I have no choice on the radio control of the car when we're on trips, so they do everything there.
You're a little outnumbered there.
But anyway.
What about movies? What are your favorite movies?
I like.
Let me guess. Something related to sport?
No, not really. I like a lot of. I'm a big war guy, big history guy.
Yeah, sure.
And
you're a military guy too.
Exactly, and so I like those things. I like suspenseful movies. I want to go see Den of Thieves 2. It just came out. I want to see that. And I like those types of movies where you have, some type of controlled violence, I guess would be another great way to say it on TV. But I like those things. My daughters, they went and saw Wicked the other day. They like those types of things, and so I'll have to be drug into that sometimes, and I'll have to go to those types of shows. But
see, that's kind of I got 3 boys, so we rule the roost.
I got
you. Mama's outnumbered.
Sure,
sure. So I get it.
Well, I'm outnumbered in my house.
Yeah,
well,
it's the reverse of it. Yeah,
I got 2 daughters, I got 2 female dogs, I got my wife, and I got my mother-in-law that's lived with us for 16 years now.
Man,
she's 87. So I'm surrounded by females.
You need to go get some testosterone vials and just.
I need something. I can tell you right now. I do. I need something.
Well, you look just like Kevin Costner, so that's why I'm bringing this up.
Oh, okay.
You've probably been told that a lot, though.
Not really.
Really? You watch Yellowstone?
I do, and I just started. A lot of people have been watching it. I've just started and really gotten into it.
You've been busy for a while.
I'm telling you, it's just been. I've been busy a long time, but I liked Justified. That was on TV a few years ago.
Is that good?
It was good. I liked it a lot.
What's that main dude?
I can't think of
his name. I'm not good with names.
But I like those shows. I don't like really watching TV.
Yeah.
I like
it's
to watch
a time
sports.
Suck.
Yeah, and I just don't do that. But anyway, those are the things I like to do.
But did you finish Yellowstone? Or you
No. I just started. I'm on like season 3 or something.
Oh, you just started. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you meant like.
So no, I've just
What do you think so far?
Oh, I liked it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like Kevin Costner. I liked all the movies he's been in, but I really like this. I kind of got into the. What is it? The 1862. The
1883.
Whatever it is.
Those 2 of them.
Yeah, and then he's developed. I saw one of his westerns that he put out. There's a saga of 3.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah. So I saw the first one.
I did too. What do you think of that one?
Weird.
Yeah, it was a little slow. The pacing was weird.
Yeah, and I thought it'd be a little bit more action packed.
Yeah, it was very slow.
But I'm hoping then the second and third one are better. But
I felt like it should have been a TV show.
Yeah, it probably should have.
Like just have segments of it.
Right.
It's real slow. I don't know that I watched the next one. So, obviously, big election year. We're in 2025. Sure. New things going on. We got China and Taiwan. You got Gaza, Israel. We're kind of on the brink of things. Are you hopeful we can get these things resolved, or is this the scariest you've ever seen things?
And I don't want to get too political here, but I think that Donald Trump is not perfect. He's not perfect
Absolutely
by
not.
any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's what's best for our country. I think that people are afraid of us when he is in power. I think
Yeah,
that
I
he
agree.
makes some really good decisions on some things that we need to make decisions on, like protecting our border. I think there's some things that he's bad at. Don't get me wrong. But, nervous, yeah. As a military guy, yeah, you have to be. And to think of
But
something-
what are the things you think he's bad at? Just to,
I think that
'cause we probably agree.
as far as his ethical behavior,
Yeah,
I think that
certainly.
that's a weakness for him. Some,
Sure.
and it's not for me to judge. I'm sure I've made mistakes, like you've made mistakes in your
Absolutely.
life that you regret. But I think that as far as I think he needs to be a little bit more political
Yeah.
when he talks. I cringe every time he gets and does an interview because I'm afraid of what he's going to say.
Okay.
And sometimes that's good.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
But
Well, that's also part of the reason I think other countries
And I
fear
agree with
this
that.
guy is
I-
they don't know
you know,
what
and
he's
I
going to
don't-
say, and if you don't know what he's going to say, you don't know what he's going to do.
And Joe Biden, I don't have a problem. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a guy that votes for whoever the best person is that I think.
You're an American who's trying to get through your day.
Exactly. And Joe Biden did some really good things for our country. He did. And some people don't like this, but he took a lot of the debt away from student loans. I think that's a good thing, and a lot of people don't, and I get it. But I think he did some good things. But I think that ultimately you have to have someone in power that people respect and fear. To be
Yeah.
honest,
Well, leaning into that a little bit, I think a lot of Americans kind of spoiled.
I agree.
And we want to be treated with kid gloves, but what you don't understand is the president is not just the president of the United States. He is the representative of the United States to the rest of the world.
I agree with that.
And so when that representation is weak, I mean, guys, this is still tribal warfare. We haven't evolved that much in 2000. You know what I mean?
No, I
We're
got
still
you.
warring
I
with
got
each
you.
other.
Yeah,
We're still
sure.
killing each other. Like, you'd think as sophisticated as we are, but as long as you have greed and
Sure.
right?
No, I got you.
You know,
You know, I-
you're
I
not going to
think
get
that-
past that.
I just wish that we'd have a little combination of. I'm not saying combination of. I wish people would get along better as
I
far as
agree.
our government. And get some things done instead of being, hey, I'm a Democrat, so I'm going to vote against Republican, or I'm a
Yeah.
Republican, I'm going to vote against Democrat stuff,
I
and
agree.
just do what's best for the American
Well, I
people.
think both parties have a lot to offer,
I agree with you.
but it's like unless
Yeah.
you're all in or not in, there's not very many.
And I think that's not why you got voted to do the job that you're doing.
exactly
You're supposed to make our country better, and there's supposed to be give and takes in these things, and
right.
I think that there's some things that need to be tweaked there too. To be
I
honest,
feel like social media has played a huge role in dividing us.
I agree with that.
Do you use social media at
You know,
all? or-
I have a Facebook account.
Yeah.
I used to have a Twitter account, but I'm not big into it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I post a few things.
Yeah.
But I think that social media is hurting American society. To be honest with you.
Okay.
You know?
Well, I want to. So when we graduated, it didn't exist.
Right.
Okay, and we didn't even have screens on our phones. It was just digital,
Sure.
right? So, how have you seen kids, as a coach, react to social media and handle it? Because it's been out for a while now,
Right.
So you've seen kind of the
Well,
ebbs and flows.
I can tell you, I can give you a perfect example.
Yeah,
of,
please.
2 years ago, we had a game where we had us and against Prairie Grove in a baseball game, and some of their guys got on social media and said some things about our guys, and our guys got something on there and said something about their guys and their sisters or their girlfriends or whatever, and it affected
Jeez.
our kids, it affected their kids, and
Yeah.
I think that's bad. I don't think that's what it was meant to do.
No,
And,
certainly
and when
not.
Facebook first came out, this is how old I am again, is when Facebook first came out, then I could reconnect with some people that I haven't seen before.
And it's
in a
still
long
great
time.
for
And
that.
it's still great for that. But to get on there and to do a bunch of things that, post a bunch of things that are not true.
That's how I got a hold of you. I think, was through Facebook.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's a great
And,
example.
I think that there's some really good things about social media, but from a school standpoint, I'm assistant principal. It's hard to get them off doing this.
Yeah.
And whether it's in the classroom or before practice or whatever, or at nighttime, stay up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Where me and you probably went outside, and we were outside till dark, and we came back in, and we did different things back then. But
certainly,
I think that social media is in my opinion, ruining, America, to be honest with you, or the world, to be honest with you.
I think it's taken a trend in the right direction with some of the stuff Elon's done with X. How do you feel about the X
I don't
thing?
get on X very much. I used to. I think that that's something that's not in my realm of expertise. I get on social media, on Facebook, and see what's going on, see what is posted after games, by our players, by whoever.
Sure.
It's like a newspaper for me,
right?
To be honest with you.
Yeah, it's the same.
Same here. and so, I don't really do the X thing as probably much as I should.
Well, what do you think of Elon? Because I'm torn on him. I think he's fantastic in some areas, but he also terrifies me.
I think that obviously he's very smart. To
on
do,
another level,
do some of the things he's done, but to see some of the things, and again, I don't know how much. This is what the last 8 years have taught me. I don't know what to believe and what not to believe on the regular media or social media, to be honest.
That is 100%.
And I just don't
accurate. Sir.
Don't know enough about him to make a statement, about whatever. But again, you hear all these things, and then you hear these things, and then you try to make the best decision, or try to figure out what the truth is, and somewhere in the middle,
Have you messed with AI at all? Have you
played
with it?
Nope, have not. I'm sure my daughters have at some point doing something. My youngest daughter is a freshman at the U of A, and she's in Chi Omega sorority, so she's got a position in one of their deals to do social media and things like that. So she knows a lot more about that than I do.
But man, I don't know. Have you seen the Optimus robot that he's releasing?
I saw that the other day, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So.
And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, that's unbelievable.
Does it scare you?
Yeah.
It scares the hell out of me.
Yeah. It scares
because
me.
If these things are in the home as servants and doing your tasks,
exactly.
right? And they gain awareness.
What was that movie with Will Smith?
iRobot?
Yeah.
Science fiction writers have been writing about this since the 50s.
I know, and here we are.
Warning it, and we thought we'd never see it. And now we are right at the front doorstep.
I agree with that.
What do you think about that?
It scares me to death. Scares me to death that
it'll scare you more if you start interacting with AI.
Yeah, I'm sure of that.
Because you'll see, and it is just a computer program right now.
Right, but it's going to be, there's a lot more smarter people out there than me and you, and doing some things with that. I get on Facebook, and the way they manipulate,
your algorithm is
I don't know who was
manipulated
talking the other day. It was one of the coaches, but they were saying some things that I know they weren't saying.
Yeah.
And they can make it look like that. And
yeah,
that's,
absolutely.
That's just
they
disturbing to me.
They have music videos of Trump and Elon dancing and stuff that look real. It's like, how do you tell anymore? And so, as technology advances, who's to say a sex tape releases of a political candidate that's AI generated?
How do you know it's real?
How do you even know what's real anymore?
That's what's scary.
And we thought 2024 was crazy. I think 2028 is going to be even more nuts.
Me too.
It's going to be like the AI, and I also think you've got OpenAI, you've got Elon Musk and Grok. You remember when Blu-ray and HD DVD came out,
sure.
right? And there was kind of the war, and then Sony PlayStation put Blu-ray in, so then it won. I feel like we're in the AI wars right now.
I think you're
whose
right.
AI is gonna be the one?
It's just, I'm glad I'm getting down to the end of my existence.
Yeah, but you gotta worry about your kids.
That's true.
Your kids are gonna have to,
and their kids, and
their kids.
and so that just
that's
scares
why it
me.
concerns me.
Oh, it
this
scares
is
me.
Our future,
right? And you got young ones, and
right,
and I'm getting to where I'm going to have grandkids eventually,
Right.
and so
I'd
it
like a
worries me.
peaceful retirement. Where
Oh, me too.
I'm not worried about my kids' future. We're in a good place in America. We're in a good place with the world. But, man,
How do you get there?
how do you get there?
I don't know.
And you want to say, well, those things are above my pay grade, but the people who are making these decisions aren't qualified to make these decisions.
Yeah, I agree.
They're puppet candidates that get paid for, and I think by the time you get to a certain level, you don't even know what you are. You don't know what you believe. You don't know what you think.
Scary world.
The more ambitious you are, the more of your soul you lose, I think.
I'm true with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. It's just scary, man. It's just to think about things like that. I thought about, if Trump lost the election, what
would the alternative
where
be?
would we be?
Where would we be in 4 years?
And I think that he's going to do some things that are going to help us, and not that I wasn't going to vote for a woman. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that
Nobody's
thought that,
saying that. Absolutely not.
Mr. Trump.
There's a lot of women I'd vote for if they ran for
no,
president.
I agree with you. But Mr. Trump, I think, will do a really good job. I hope, anyway.
Just the tenacity of that man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the things, the assassination attempt, and to get up and just pump your fist. I don't know if I'd be able to do that.
Watching that slow motion bullet by his head deal. If he doesn't turn his head a certain way, we would be talking about something else.
Have you heard the theory that Trump's team staged that?
I have not heard that
to
theory, but
make him look good.
I don't know how they could stage it like that.
Because I wouldn't trust anybody. I don't care what sharpshooter level of military you are to miss me.
Whew.
At
That'd be tough.
That's 150 yards is a fairly easy shot if you're trying to take a kill.
Sure.
But to nick somebody within a millimeter, that's a different story.
Well, how do you get that close off?
I don't think. That whole thing was shady.
I don't know.
It's just the word apocalypse is actually, it's Greek, and it's the unveiling of great hidden truths. And I feel like we are really in that right now. I feel like I've learned more in the last, like you said, you don't know who to trust on social media. You don't know who to trust on regular media, which is why podcasts are getting so popular right now.
Right.
And people can find a podcaster that everybody on the news is suit and tie, buttoned up, but you can find a guy with tattoos who's talking about the thing you like, and he has credible sources, and you get the community divests into smaller groups. But what I saw with like this election cycle is the podcast reigned supreme. I mean, Trump started going on podcasts. I mean, that was unheard of. Nobody'd ever done this before. And the guy's able to just bullshit, right?
There's no doubt.
He can just sit down and bullshit with
that.
anybody. Yeah, he's a great bullshitter. But they wouldn't allow Kamala to do it. And that was what was so wild to me.
Wild. To think about it, that is wild.
But that's how much influence podcast. Like Joe Rogan is one of the most, if not the most influential people in the world. And he's just
off podcast.
Yeah, off doing podcasting because he's trustworthy.
Sure.
He's curious. He's willing to learn. He'll sit down with literally anybody. And it's just very authentic.
Sure.
When you see these people on the news, they're reading a script that was written by a producer that was paid for by a pharmaceutical company. Are those people you can trust? I don't think so.
Again, go back to I don't know what to trust and what not to trust anymore. So
exactly, and it's a scary place to be. But I think it's also a good thing. The podcast. My fear is that if, for instance, CNN ratings go down to the point where pharmaceuticals say it's not worth advertising with them anymore, where are they going to put those dollars?
Yeah.
Into podcasts? And then what happens once they start taking that money? Because everything's corruptible.
Yeah.
I feel like we're in this golden age right now where it's like, man, the podcast is killing it, but it could get corrupted too.
It could. There's no doubt. There is no doubt about that.
You a religious guy?
Yes, obviously. We go to church. We haven't gone as much. I haven't gone as much lately. When football season rolls around, that it's hard to go on Sundays when you're working on Sundays. The girls go. My wife goes. But yeah, I'm a religious guy. I think that's important as a coach and important as a human being to be that way. there's supposed to be a separation of church and state,
Yeah.
and I think that our kids need, some religion in their lives from their coaches, to be honest, and teachers, to be honest with you.
Well, what I find interesting about it is I feel like it used to be you either had to go to church every Sunday or it was nothing at all.
Right.
Right? But I feel like, because the teachings are pretty good life lessons.
I agree.
Just if you're able to read it or I think they definitely hold up to Western culture. And that's why you have so much conflict in the world, is that we grew up, whether we were Christian or not, we at least were raised on those values.
Right. No, I get
Even if you weren't necessarily a Christian, you still believed in those tenets of love your neighbor, do
Sure.
good to one another, forgive, all that stuff. But there are religions in the world who are antithetical to that.
And I agree with you on that. So, I think that, it's so hard. You want to be one of those guys that go to church every Sunday, do those things. When I was growing up, my mom, she was in a Christian quartet. So when I was young, I was drugged to every church in probably Northwest Arkansas. The Calvary Echoes were playing, and so we would go on Sunday nights or Sundays or Wednesday nights or Thursday nights or whatever night there was for them to play. And so I was kind of drug around to all kinds of churches when I was young.
You're going the circuit.
Oh, and so, I want to be one of those guys that go every Sunday, but, with the job that I have and some things that I do, and I just can't get there. Now, my wife, she'll record so we can watch it together some, and I get that, but she does a really good job with the girls and getting them there, and I think that's a very important part of my girls' life is being in the church, to be honest with you.
I want to talk a little bit about just being a dad.
Okay.
How old were you when you had your first?
Oh, let's see. Callie she's 25 now, so that would make me 31 when I had her, or when her mother had her. So yeah, around early 30s.
Okay.
Jana's a couple years younger than I am, and so we had her, and it took a while for us to get pregnant because Jana had some problems conceiving, and so
yeah, it afflicts a lot of people. It's harder than you think.
We thought
it really is.
We thought we weren't going to have any kids, and we talked about adopting and all those types of things. And all of a sudden, boom, we were pregnant.
Common.
And so, yeah, being a dad, it's the greatest thing. My girls, I want to say that they weren't involved in sports, but my daughter was a 2-time All-State softball player. She was at games from the time she was at practice from probably 6 on, because we didn't have after school program back then. So she just came to practice with me.
All I can hear is those ducks quack. I'm sorry about that.
I hear them back there.
I don't know how to stop it.
But and my other daughter, she's a cheerleader, and she comes to practice. She was my manager last year in her senior year.
Oh, that's cool.
Baseball. So
Man, that's really a special thing.
It is, and you get to experience a lot of things that regular dads don't, and I had 2 girls and wouldn't change it for the world, to be honest with you. I think it was great.
I don't know if you were the same way, but I was a very selfish person before I had kids because I wasn't responsible for anybody. So everything I did was for me.
I think that's human nature, to be honest with you. And then when you get those kids, you want to do everything for them. And
so now there's somebody more important than you.
Exactly. And I'm still, we're trying to get our kids out of college without any debt.
Yeah,
and we did it for our oldest one, and now we're doing it for our youngest one, and we have.
That's got to make you feel good.
It does, and
not a lot of kids get that.
And I agree with that, and I had to go. I had to take student loans, and I had the GI Bill and all those types of things, but it didn't pay for everything, and we got all those things paid off, but it's difficult, and having 2 girls is a different experience, to be honest with you. They're still mad at me because I guess I'm a somewhat intimidating person, and so boyfriends didn't come.
Ooh,
as,
yeah, I wouldn't.
come as good.
I wouldn't have liked
and,
to go to your house.
You know, it was.
Well, you're a
difficult.
military guy too.
True, and I think that you know, now they're in college.
Were you the guy polishing the shotgun while they?
You know, I didn't do that. I don't know. I thought I was being myself, but obviously I was an intimidating type of guy. But anyway, I think that they've gotten over that, and they're going on doing their lives and doing the things that and they're both very successful, very successful.
Well, it's got to make you proud.
It is. It does.
What was? I don't know if you feel this way, but when my kids were little, like first 5 years, I didn't know what to do with them. You know, they're just, Mama was great with them. She was nurturing and always wanted to cuddle and hold them. I don't know what to do with that. But then you start bonding over things, and you start really, at least it sounds like you have the same experience, but then you really start getting that connection built. It's such a magical thing.
Yeah, and they're both different. You know, they're both
totally different.
Got their own, you know, and I thought to myself, I really asked my dad this when we had Callie and we were about to have Katie Beth. You know, how can I have another one? I don't think I can love it like I love this one. And
right.
And that's not true.
Isn't it so funny how your heart just expands?
Yeah, it's just a different type of love. And my girls, you know, God bless them. They God bless their mother, because you know she really does a really great job with them, and especially, you know, she's like a single mom when I'm in season, you know, half the year she's a single mom, and she's got exactly, she's got a job to do too, and then doing the things with the girls, and but anyway, I think that being a dad is one of the greatest things ever, to be honest with you.
At what point did you start getting nervous about them growing up and moving on, or was it by that time? Are you kind of excited for it? I don't know, because I'm at that point right now where it's like everything is a last.
I thought I was excited for it. On two different occasions, I wasn't excited. You know, the morning we got up to take Callie to Arkansas Tech, I was not excited.
Yeah.
You know, and I know they had to go and do their own stuff. And the same thing with Katie Beth. We took her to the University of Arkansas, and those days, now she's a little closer where she can come back home and do some things. But
it's tough.
You know, it's tough, and those things are tough. And I think it'll be tougher when they get married and have kids.
Certainly.
And I think it's going to be tough for me.
Well, then they have responsibilities away from you.
You know, they're still trying to be kids and do the things that they do, and you know, Callie travels a lot, and she's making really good money and doing the things that she's doing. And Katie Beth, she's wanting to be a teacher, which I'm trying to talk her out of, because you know I think there's better opportunities otherwhere, but her heart's in it. She wants to be a teacher, and
gotta be tough. Well, you have to want to.
We're going to support it and do whatever she wants to, but she's having a great time at the university, and so you know, my life's really good right now, to be honest with you.
When you talk about them being totally different personality-wise, what do you think that is? Do you think it's genetics, or do you think you raise them differently because of certain factors?
You know, I think that with Callie, I think that her being at practice, playing catch with the boys, you know, understanding. I mean, she watched film with me, you know, and Katie Beth watched film with me too. I think that's neat. It is neat, because you know, my oldest daughter will make somebody, if they're a coach, a good coach's wife, because she understands football better than some of our younger coaches. But you know, with Katie Beth, she had different interests. You know, she was in the pageants for a while, and then she got into cheerleading, and you know, and that's not my expertise. That's my wife.
But you supported her.
And I did. You know, we went to games, and obviously she's on the sidelines too during football games, and that's great. Then she became my manager in baseball, so there was a connection there, and it was great to experience what we've experienced as my career with my two girls being basically there all the time. You know, and it's kind of a neat deal.
I had my cousin's husband. He's a good friend of mine as well. He's got a teenage daughter, and I used to pray when she'd get pregnant, please don't be a girl, because I'd be in jail within 16 years from now.
Sure.
There was a countdown, because I would not deal kindly with that, and I didn't get any. But I asked him, you know, how do you send that girl out into the world every day, knowing how guys are? And he said, you know, when I was in school, you knew which girls wouldn't mess around with, you
Right.
know, that were good girls.
Sure.
And every single one of them had a dad that loved them and was
I think it's
involved
important.
with their
Yes.
lives.
I think it's very important.
And so if I, as a dad, give her the male attention she needs at home, she doesn't need to get it anywhere else.
And you see that a lot at school, you know, in the positions that I'm in,
Yeah.
you know, with as being the dean of students, assistant principal, whatever you want to say it is, you know, you deal with, you know, I deal with all the discipline at Farmington. So,
Oh,
you know,
my gosh. Do you really?
Yeah, all the high school discipline comes through me.
Man,
And
that's
so
a tough job,
It is.
dude.
And, you know, we don't really have a lot of problems at Farmington, to be honest. You know, we have a little THC. We have a little disagreement, but for the most part, it's a really good school to work in and send your kids to. And really, I think that you see a lot of who's got stable parents and
Yeah.
who's divorced, or
I bet you can.
who, you know, you can
And do you
see
see
it.
trends?
Oh yeah, you can
with
see it. You know,
this
and it's-
situation?
It's, you know, unless you're in it, unless you're in that position,
Yeah.
you don't really understand. But you can see the difference sometimes in some of how people are, I guess, how they progress through high school, and others how they progress through high school, and it's a totally different deal.
Have you ever had to call the state on neglect or anything? Has
You
there
know,
been anything?
I've had to call the state on a few things, you know, but for the most part, neglect is not one of them that we have really. Now we have some kids in need. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. I
yeah.
think there's some kids at Farmington. You know, you think of Farmington, and I always think of Farmington when I was growing up in Prairie Grove
Yes.
as the farming town, and we were at Prairie
Yeah.
Grove.
And I still remember that as a
you
young
know,
boy too. Yeah.
as the town, you know,
Yeah.
and
Certainly.
and then you get over here, and Farmington's grown so much more. Now Prairie Grove's catching up, obviously,
Yeah.
and but you know, it's just a different type of, I don't know, mindset, I guess, that you have to figure out how things are going, how things are progressing, and then, you know, you think of us as a town that's got money, which we do,
There is.
but
yeah.
there are some really needy kids that
100%.
we have. So
Yeah, certainly. Two things can be true at once.
That's
There's-
true.
There's
That's
a lot
true.
of money.
Yes,
in it.
sir.
I mean, you look at Northwest Arkansas as a whole. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
poverty. You know what I mean?
my God, yes, it's
The-
unbelievable.
if you average it out, it comes to a reasonable number. But there's a lot of real high wealth and a lot of really.
Oh, I agree
lot
with
of poverty.
that, you know.
It's weird. You know, you drive out any back road out behind this area, and there'll be a trailer with 50 broken down cars, $1 million home. Trailer, you know,
I know it.
right next to each other.
It's
It's like, how does that work out
it's
for the
weird.
property
Yeah,
value?
exactly.
You know,
you
but
know.
for whatever reason, these people with money wanted to be out. You know,
Away from the- yeah,
away
I
from
gotcha.
it, and I get that.
You know, I live in town, you know, right down from the school, and you know, there's some advantages and some disadvantages. You know, privacy is not one of them.
Yeah,
You know, as far as my neighbors are really close, and then, you know, the kids come over to my house because they need a key for something, and I'm always the one that's closest, and so they come to the house all the time, and which is fine, you know. And I think there's some advantages of living in town, and there's some advantages of living out here, and I lived in town when I was growing up in Prairie Groves.
Did you?
Back on Park Street down there on,
yeah,
you know, and
Yeah.
so you know, I just wasn't I worked on a farm growing up and baled hay and raked hay and did all those types of things, but you know, we always lived in town. My dad was a banker, and my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and then she got a career with Lindsay and Associates and doing some things, and so, you know, we just, growing up was, you know, I loved, I hate to say this because I'm from Farmington, I'm a Farmington guy, but, you know, growing up in Prairie Grove was one of the best experiences of my life.
I agree.
You know, so
Well, I spent most of, you remember Vinewood Animal Hospital?
Oh, yeah,
that was
sure.
my grandpa.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they grew up. My dad and all his brothers grew up on Mock Street,
Okay, sure.
and so when my mom and dad got married, they moved to Florida for a little bit, and we came back when I started kindergarten, and they settled in Farmington. And so I had kind of a foot in both worlds. All my cousins went to Prairie Grove. I was the only one at Farmington.
Oh, I got you.
So they'd come shoe polish the car and all that shit before the games and stuff.
Sure.
That was obnoxious.
Sure.
But I definitely, I love that area.
Well,
Prairie Grove to me is just as much home as Farmington.
And to me too,
and it was the greatest.
Still got friends over there, that I grew up with.
Certainly.
And, so, my best friend, growing up, still just retired being the basketball coach over there, and just now teaching, and but he still lives in Prairie Grove, and we still play golf together, and so it's great.
That rivalry is so great though, because
I'm telling you,
everybody's friends, right? But it's a tribal thing.
I'm telling you, they got.
And it gets nasty sometimes.
They've had some really good players the last few years, and really good teams, and we've been fortunate enough to win. I think this 4 in a row this last year. And you don't get that very often, this rivalry. And we go there next year, and it'll be tough. But they got turf on the field now that I saw.
Yeah, it looks nice.
I haven't even been over there to see it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we played a game on it, last game of the sixth grade season.
And they're building an indoor down there at the bottom.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So I think there's things that I think they're trying to, you have to, in Northwest Arkansas, to get kids, get athletes, to get regular students, is your facilities have to be great. And I think I think Brian Law did a great job of improving our facilities.
Well, we went, so like I said, my middle one played 5th grade last year, so that was the first time I'd seen our facilities back there.
Gotcha.
Wow. And we played a game at Prairie Grove, and my dad was standing next to me. I said, man, this is the exact same field I played on 25 years ago. And he goes, it's the exact same field I played on 45 years ago.
There's no doubt. If you look at that, before they put that turf on there, there's not much changes that happened there. And I think they've realized that they have to up their game, because if you look at Lincoln, Lincoln's got turf field.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. They got a new high school. They got a new gymnasium.
Okay.
And I think Prairie Grove feels like they have to do that, and they should. It's something that the kids deserve. And I'm so glad.
I know, but it's charming.
It is.
I love,
and I agree with that.
I went to Pea Ridge expecting something like that, and I was like, man, they've got.
Yeah, exactly.
And Pea Ridge used to be the podunk little 1A
Gentry's
or
got
whatever.
It too. Gravitz,
I didn't know Gentry and Well, who all do we still play that we played 20 years ago? You still play Prairie Grove, obviously.
Yeah. We don't anybody now.
Anybody really,
because
other than that,
we
right?
We have Morrilton, Valonia, Greenbrier, Alma, Harrison, and I'm gonna leave somebody out. But those types of people, instead of football's been 5A for a couple years now, but baseball, basketball just turned 5A. So now
so
Farmington's
you don't
5A.
elevate the school, you elevate the sport. So you can be 4A in one and 5A in another.
We were in 4A basketball.
Okay.
Everything else
that makes sense.
Football.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, for the last few years. So we've been still playing Prairie Groves, the Shilohs, the Gravitz, the Berryvilles, those types of people until this year. Now, my baseball conference is ludicrous. Siloam Springs, Alma, Van Buren, Greenwood, Russellville, Harrison, and Mountain Home are the guys that are in our conference.
Wow.
So a lot of travel, a lot of things.
And you didn't have that back.
Yeah, you did.
When did that really start?
Because
it was kind of you've seen the whole progression.
Right.
Was it a gradual thing or a slow? Like how did that?
I think
progress?
That it's been a gradual thing over time, but the last few years, Northwest Arkansas is growing so much that there's not a lot of 5A teams or 6A teams. You go to 7 in football, but you go to 6 in everything else.
Oh, football's the only one that goes to 7?
Right.
I didn't know that.
It makes no sense. But anyway, so 6A.
It doesn't really make any sense.
I don't know how the AAA does this stuff, but anyway, you got a bunch of 6A. You don't have a lot of 6A teams, so then you got to combine conferences and put these guys in. Like we're the smallest.
Okay.
The smallest baseball school in 5A. We are Farmington.
Right.
The largest one is Benton. So that's who we have to compete with, and that's ludicrous to me somehow. And I just don't understand.
It always seems like there's disparities like that in
there
conferences. How can you fix? Is it? Do you have to get on a regulatory board? How do you fix stuff like that?
I don't
Who
know
decides
how,
that?
I don't understand how.
Because they ought to be asking the
I
opinions
know
of
it's
coaches.
by school. It's by exactly. It's by school population. I know that.
Yeah.
You know how big a school you got. But again, I think there's some disadvantages, and I know they're not thinking athletically all the time. They're thinking about
sheer numbers.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's putting us at a disadvantage, even though we went to the finals this year.
Yeah, it's hard for you to talk about
it
disadvantage.
It is hard, and we're
running.
running through a good group of athletes, and in our baseball program will be fine. Our softball team won the state championship last year. They're going to be great. Our girls basketball team has won, 2 of the last 4, but they've been in it 5 years in a row, and they've won 2 or 3 straight state titles. Our boys were in the finals last year and got beat in the state finals. So, our soccer team won a state championship 2-3 years ago. And so I think that we're running through some great groups of kids and athletes, and I think we're gaining some from other parts of, if you're moving in Northwest Arkansas, you look around, where do you want to be? If you don't want to be in a big school, then I think our school is the one that they're choosing, to be honest with you.
One thing that's interesting to me that you've been able to see is the youth and how through the different because it's been a generation since I graduated, how you've seen kids change from, say, when you came there in the late 90s through today. What's the progression of just the kids been like?
I to me,
or has there been a progression?
There has. The kids are more savvy. They're more in tune with work ethics and getting bigger, faster, stronger.
Really?
They want to do that.
Because you'd think kids this generation would get weaker.
Yeah, and I think that's a misconception because our kids, they'll work.
Well, I guess if you're playing football,
you have to.
You're going to have to do that. Yeah.
And that just carries over to other sports too. It carries over to other ones. And so I think I wouldn't say that I think there's more kids to choose from. To be honest, when I first got here, there wasn't.
Yeah, you had to take what you got.
And I think that there's kids that come in here that transfer. That if you're successful baseball wise or football wise or basketball wise or whatever, they see that and they want to be part of that, and that's good. And we've gotten some really good transfers into Farmington, but we're still playing a majority with Farmington kids, which you should. I'm not actively going to go search and recruit. I think that's what you shouldn't do. I think that
I agree.
I think that you should play with Farmington kids, and I'm just not going to be that guy. Whether it's if I retire, if I get out of coaching next year or the year after next or 5 years from now, I'm just not going to do that as a head coach and actively go recruit. I'm just not going to do that. I think that that's not what you should do, and that's part of my philosophy. And we're going to play with the guys that are here and they're our guys, and we've been successful doing that, and so I'm going to keep doing that.
What do you think about just overall the general growth in Northwest Arkansas? Because it really makes me sad.
Well,
growing up here as you did.
I really didn't think, and this is how naive I am sometimes.
Yeah.
I really didn't think putting in the highway, the road from Alma up to here, would be that big of an impact, and God, it is. It just.
Oh, you think that's a big part?
I think it's a big part of it.
Really?
I think it's so hard for people to get to Northwest Arkansas coming up Old Highway 71.
Yeah.
Than it is coming up the interstate.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's easier to get to Northwest Arkansas. I think the regional airport, I think Walmart, I think Tyson, I think all these things are expanding so much.
So a lot of it was just access.
I think so.
It was
really
kind of
do.
like we had infrastructure here, but outside of this, there wasn't anything.
Thinking about going back, when I was in college, they didn't have. We had to come up Old 71 to the Pick Trail, and that was. I didn't want to make that drive. I just didn't want to do that, and now it's easy. And I think that it's easier for people to move to Northwest Arkansas. And it's sad for me too, because we had such a, and we still do in certain aspects, have a great place to grow up and to raise families. Now,
Certainly, I'll agree
is
with
it
that.
going to change when we get more people and more people and more people moving in here? I don't know. I just think that I think those two things, well, there's three things: expansion of the airport, the road coming up here, and Walmart and Tyson and them growing so much that I think it's just bringing
not
people
just
in.
that they're bringing people in. People will move in to work for a company, and then they tell their family about it.
Sure,
And the
vendors, yeah. No, I
and
get
they're
it.
like, oh, it's great, and you can get.
Yeah, look at Bentonville. I drove up there the other day, where they have Top Golf and all those buildings that are going up
Yeah.
and down there by the AMP and all that place. Oh, it's just amazing to me that's going on. But
It feels like they're building a city.
yeah, no, I
Like
agree.
a real one.
Yeah, exactly. And, I'm just not sure I'm ready for that. But,
I'm not either.
But anyway, I guess we're going to have to be.
I'm years from ready from it. Well, it's a lot different teaching kids to drive.
No, there's no doubt.
Like back when I learned to drive, there wasn't anybody on the road.
Exactly. And now you got to, worry about how do they enter the interstate? How do they get on?
Exactly.
Those types of
We
things.
didn't have
And,
a bypass back then. It was
I,
just,
I learned how to drive in Prairie Grove, and Lord, you
Exactly.
drive down Main Street, you go in a parking spot, you get back out, you reverse out, you go down the road there, and you turn around and come back, and you passed. And
Exactly.
that's just those times are.
you might have got
gone.
out in a field a time or two.
Yeah, I've been out in the field a couple of times. too.
Were you a pretty good kid?
I would hope so. I never really got in trouble or anything, but I've done my share of drinking in fields and bonfires and things like that when I was in high school. But there wasn't a lot to get us in trouble at Prairie Grove, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of hung out down at the one stop, and you
The one stop.
you
Yes, sir.
drove around, or you went to your girlfriend's house, or she came to your house, or you had a group of people together, and you just couldn't get in trouble back
Yeah.
then, really. Drinking, I guess, was accepted a little bit more than it is now.
Yeah.
You could get chewing tobacco or whatever you want. I mean, we had I don't even know if you know or not, but we had what was called the slab back at Prairie Grove High School, where you could smoke. The kids could smoke out there on the slab, and
I knew there was
know,
a place.
and-
And Farmington had a tree.
yeah, same thing. Those times are gone.
I'll
And
never forget. Smoking had been banned in my while I
Right.
was in school.
Right.
I remember when you could smoke on campus, but I remember seeing what I thought was a burning bush one time, and I was like 50. I think I was driving, but I went back there and Mr. Eccles. I was like,
Well,
man, I thought this is a burning bush over here.
I just don't understand, well, I do, because we didn't have, when I was growing up, or I didn't know it, we didn't have marijuana or drug problems.
Right.
The most you could get in trouble is drinking beer or
Right.
or even chewing
Drinking
tobacco.
beer can get you in a lot of trouble.
It can
A lot.
yes, sir, and I get it, but there just wasn't. Now we didn't have phones.
Right.
If I had a phone back then, I'd be in all kinds
You couldn't
of
destroy
trouble.
somebody's life on Facebook.
Exactly.
Back then.
You couldn't take pictures and send them. And
Exactly.
there's some things
Yeah.
that you couldn't do, and you think about those things and the challenges our kids have
Yeah.
now.
A lot different.
It's a lot different, and so you do have problems. You do have.
And you, as a
kids.
dad, have to adapt to
Yeah,
what's going on. So
there's
you
no
have to
doubt.
stay current.
There's no doubt.
You have to
no,
obviously.
no,
You see, you probably see a lot of cultural stuff. You're probably pretty close to what's culturally relevant because you're
True.
around kids.
True.
Like what music they're listening to, what
yeah,
movies.
and where they hide things. Where they, as the dean of students or the assistant principal, whatever you want to say it is.
Yeah.
They have certain areas that they can hide, THC when they come in our building, or they have things on their phone where they can hide certain pictures or things. You got to know those things, and I depended on, other students to help me with those types of things and teach me. And so, yeah, it's changed a lot, man. It's just wild.
My
honestly.
entire junior high and high school, there was one kid kicked out for marijuana and 2 kids suspended for alcohol. It was
heck,
me
I
and
got
Danny
one.
Darling.
I got one Thursday we're going to release school at 1:00. I got one at 12:15 because he had THC vape in his bag and was under the influence. I mean,
You didn't have to, man, seriously, Farmington, 1998, there were guns in the car.
sure. Sure.
with ammo
I
in the
remember
car.
growing up.
And the doors were unlocked. So I
Yeah.
remember that.
You know,
And then Columbine happened.
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Those things, my gosh. I remember going to the parking lot, and a lot of my friends hunted back in the day, and they would just put their
Same.
guns in there.
Well, they literally made gun racks for the back of your truck.
Exactly.
And so you'd go to school because you'd be going hunting afterward, or you just got done hunting early in the morning or something.
It's just changed so much.
But I remember that.
Yeah,
and
I
the
do
kids
too.
that we raised
They don't have any idea.
Don't even have any idea.
Nope.
It's like the idea that, well, you probably remember corded phones. Well,
Sure.
obviously.
Sure.
Rotary dial,
Yeah, I had my own phone number. My daughters they crack up at this all the time. We had the house phone, and then I had my own number because I was getting so many I would make so many or get so many phone calls that my parents got tired of it and gave me my own number at the house. So 846-3486 was my parents' number, and 846-3479 was my number in my room. So we had two phones, and they crack up that because they got cell phones, and they can call anybody you want to and do whatever you want. So
That's so wild.
it's just
man.
wild.
It is. Like I can't, and I try really hard to put things in context for my kids.
Sure.
In the way I grew up versus the way you're growing up.
Sure.
And it's probably annoying to them. They probably don't
sure
want to
it
hear
is.
it,
I'm sure it is.
But you need to know. Like, here's what's changed. Here's how society's changed.
And what's it going to be like 25 years
And what's
from
it
now?
going to be like
20 years from now?
I feel like
10.
we're moving at an exponential rate at this point. Elon said 4 years we're going to be able to send a rocket to the moon that's going to deliver a payload so big that people will be able to build a city out of it. 4 years after that, the people will arrive and build the city. And now we are multicultural or multi-planetary.
Yeah, there you go.
And you know what?
It's weird.
It's a good investment because at some point that sun, and it might be millions of years from now, but the sun will eventually supernova. Like, there is a time expiration on this. Nothing
surely.
lasts forever.
Surely.
So at some point, we need to figure out a way to get out of here. And I think that's something that he's doing that's really cool.
He's got a lot of great ideas.
But it takes a lot of money.
Oh, Lord, yes, it does. Yes, it does.
What do you think about him getting involved in politics? I think it's interesting because what he did with Twitter was fantastic. He cut 75% of the staff, and it's working better than ever. And if he can do that with the government,
and I think he's got some great ideas, just like Donald Trump does. But I think there's some things that you have to be not fearful, but cautious about. And I think that's with everybody, to be honest with you. But it's going to be interesting in the next few years, to be honest.
Those robots are expected to be household items within the next couple of years.
Is that unbelievable?
So, like, you'd know somebody who had that robot who was washing dishes or doing laundry or whatever. That's the thing that scares me the most, because they would literally have an AI processor in it. They'd be linked probably to all the other AIs. So it's like a global...
Let's go back to the Will Smith movie.
I know. I need to watch that again, because I've heard several references to that just this week, and it really is. We are living that. And when we saw that movie, you didn't even think it would be possible.
Right, exactly.
Like, God, that's nonsense. But now, you've referenced it. Like,
that's the thing I thought about when, the first thing I think about is when you talk about, when I saw that on TV the other day, I thought, my God, it's a different version of the Will Smith movie. Yeah. That's the only thing I can think about. But anyway,
I wanted to get back to driving. Was it you or the wife that did the driving instructing?
I did most of it. I taught. I know this sounds weird. I taught Callie on the school tractor. To be honest with you,
really?
Out at the baseball field.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the mowers.
That's a cool memory of
and
it.
How to do things and how to turn, and then we'd get in the car and I'd let her drive home, even though she didn't have a driver's license, and so she learned how to do that way. And then Katie Beth was.
Did she remember that?
Oh yeah, she remembers. Yeah. And it was mostly me. Jana does a really good job driving. She's had a few accidents, and so I felt like it was my, I guess, job to do that. So sure. I did that. So she did a lot of things that I couldn't do. As far as Lord.
You each have your lane.
Exactly.
And then
exactly.
yeah.
So
I can't. Apparently, my lane is not like grocery errands. My wife thinks it's so simple to say, get these items.
right.
Okay, butter. Okay,
What kind?
Creamy, unsalted,
Right.
creamy, salted, non-creamy. And so I call, and she gets annoyed. The same stuff I always get. I don't know what you get.
Well,
so it ends up being not worth her time to even send
Sure.
me.
Sure. Well, I go to the store a bunch for ours. I think that Janice, she works from home. She works for the Dallas market. She's in Dallas right now for the last week. She's like a vendor for Patrick and Company, which sells to her territories, Arkansas, and she has some in Louisiana, some in Missouri that she does. But she works mostly from home, and then she's got her mom there. And Kay was a court reporter for a long time. She retired, and she had a stroke a couple years ago at a baseball game, and she's still functional, obviously, but she's getting older, and so we had to sell her car last year. And so Janet's got some things that she has to do that I feel like I need to do things around the house to help her. So that's what I try to do when I'm not coaching, which is we're getting ready for a baseball season here, coming up. It starts February 25th. When we go to Greenland for our annual scrimmage game, and then we got 30 games in about a 2-month period that we're on the road all the time.
Is that how many games in the schedule?
You can have 30 is the limit. We have, I think right now we're sitting at 29, but it's just one after another. It's 3 or 4 nights a week, and then you go on. We got beat last year. Prairie Grove won the state championship in baseball.
I did not know that.
We beat them in the regular season, and then they beat us in the semifinals. And so, it's Coach Cameron and I are really good friends over there, and I'm glad he won it. But you get that close. We've been to the semifinals in baseball 4 times. We've been in the finals once. And we've been close, and so I think eventually our time's coming, but. Whether I'll be on the helm of that or not, we'll see. But
it's still going to make you feel good. I mean, that's success. It's not easy to win a Super Bowl. Like Andy Reid in Philadelphia is a great example. Like, should they have fired that guy? He was successful every year, and he gave you a chance. I'd rather have that than an unknown.
Well, it's just hard. It's hard to win a championship. I don't care if it's a district championship.
There's so many factors out of your control.
Exactly. And we've had. And I've been fortunate. I've had really great players. But we've had 2 losing seasons in the 20-plus years I've been the baseball coach. And, we've had success, and we're going to have success because I think our kids really buy into what we're trying to get done. But, it's been a really great – I've had such a really great career, to be honest with you, as far as when it started at – Clarksville, or volunteering at Prairie Grove or at Lincoln, and then going to Lincoln, then going to Siloam, then coming here. I've had chances to leave here, and I just didn't want to do that. And this place is special, and the people here are special. They support you a lot, and
that's true.
I haven't got fired yet, and hopefully I won't. But it's hard.
If you just get to retirement without getting fired,
I can retire after this year. But my daughter just started university, so. I got to go at least 4 more, but it's been fun, man.
Do you think your military experience prepared you to be a coach?
I think it helps. I think that the discipline part and being organized and
that specifically
and those types of things are very important. I went in the military not knowing what I was going to do. Besides, I knew I was going to be a medic, and then again, I've been blessed. It just fell right for me. Where I was a medic, I got to Fort Campbell. Well, I went to airborne school, came back to Fort Campbell, and then could have been picked up by any unit, and got picked up by an aviation unit, 3rd 101st Aviation, which made me a flight medic. And then I got in with the colonel and became his driver, and then I was the brigade commander's driver, and took care of the colonels as I was going through the military, and then got back in, got sent right back to Campbell. I spent 6 more months at Campbell, and everything just fell right. And then when I get into coaching, it just kind of fell right, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah. How do you feel about the state of our military right now?
I don't think they're supported enough, to be honest. I can say
Right.
that because I'm a military guy.
Yeah.
I think that
You mean by the public?
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
Okay.
I think that,
And why do you think that is?
well, I just think that
you feel like they get blamed for decisions they don't make.
that they have no choice
say
in,
Yeah,
know.
they
and,
get an order.
Yeah, you gotta follow that
You follow
order.
the order.
And I think that the military doesn't get enough credit of what they do.
I agree.
And some of the units that I was a very small part of the military when I was in the military. I was at airborne school, and I was an airborne unit, and I got to jump out of planes, and it was great, but I was a very small part of what, you look at SEAL teams, and you look at Delta Force, and you look at Rangers, and you look at all these types of units, and I was a very small part, but these people give up their lives in training exercises and in real life military, wars or conflicts, and we need to pick what we need to be in and what we don't need to be in my opinion, and do a better job of supporting our military.
What about Russia, Ukraine? What is your stance
I
on
think that Donald Trump's going to solve that problem. To be honest with you, that's my feeling. Does it make me nervous? Yes. Russia always makes me nervous because I think them and China are the biggest threats to our way of life.
Yeah.
And I think we have to have a strong military no matter what, because we are the leading country, and we got to have a strong military. And I think that people need to understand that and support it.
Do you think Trump's talking shit when he's talking about taking Greenland and Canada?
I think it's a really good idea.
You do like the idea.
I don't think taking things. I think putting military. But you look at where, I was looking at this the other day. It was
or even some kind of a treaty.
Yeah. Well, there's some kind of show on the other day I was watching that if you look at the Russian Atlantic fleet, most of it could go right past and go to the United States without anything happening. There's
right.
nuclear thing in base in England or Scotland, and having one in Greenland would cut that off. And I get what he's saying. I understand what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good idea, but I don't think we should take anything. I think we should have some type of agreement with Greenland that we can put a military base there. Yes, but
I think one of Trump's tactics is that he goes so extreme that it's like, that's ridiculous.
I agree
You're
with
never
that.
going to get that. And then you walk down from that.
Yeah,
You know what I
he may
mean?
be right. He may be throwing those out there. Like I told you, I cringe every time he says something.
Right. But
Yeah.
I think there's a strategy behind it. The guy's successful.
He is successful.
He's
he has to be.
demonstratively successful all the way to the
He has to
presidency
be,
twice.
And so, and that's
There's only two
again,
presidents
unheard
in
of.
one.
Yeah.
Well,
So, again, I think that there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do, and
yeah.
I
But
think
I
that-
feel like there's more attention on it from the general public than there ever has been before. And I think for all of my lifetime, until I'd say COVID, the majority of people I knew did not care about or involve themselves in politics. It was, you'd have an uncle or somebody that you knew that was real invested in it,
Right.
but generally people didn't think about it as much. And I think that's different now. I think,
Well,
I don't know, it's
we have access to so many things.
access is so readily available.
that we're a society of wanting things now.
Mm-hmm.
Where back then
Right.
we didn't have that, and I get it. I'm still, I wish it was back then instead of now, but
Yeah.
things are a lot easier back then, to be honest with you. But
You didn't have Amazon Prime.
well, true. You had to go do a couple things, but for
But
the
it's
most part,
nice.
it is nice, and there's some things I like about.
Some things are great about the future.
but God, there's some things that I don't know. I just have problems with. to be
Well,
honest.
are you at least optimistic?
I am
about the future?
yeah, I'm optimistic. I think that you have to be. I think you have to be, and to have hope that the people are going to get in the right positions to do the right things, and I think we're going to get that.
What your ideal retirement when you finally get
God.
there? Have you thought about it, or are you trying to not think about it?
I've
It
always
seems
said
intimidating to me.
it is, and you think about it, and what are you going to do?
Right.
I get up at the same time every day, 5:45 every day. Doesn't matter if it's Saturday, Sunday. Doesn't matter
Right.
if we're on vacation.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
That's what time we get up, or I get up, and to think about what
Did your
I'll
daughters
do.
get up at 5:45 when they were teenagers?
No, no. But I always think about this too. Being a coach is. I heard someone say this one time. It's not what I am; it's who I am, and what am I going to do when I'm not that person anymore?
Yeah.
And that's what worries me a little bit. What am I going to do? How am I going to keep myself occupied?
It's not like you can go into broadcasting high school football.
And people say, "Well, just go play golf all the time." Well, you just can't do that every day.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And
Well, is there a dream or something you've always wanted to accomplish?
Lord.
Whereas if you had the time and resources, you could do it?
Not really. I know this is going to sound crazy to everybody, but I wanted to retire, move to Florida, and drive the freaking boat from Wilderness Lodge to Magic Kingdom. That's all I wanted to do.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
And just drive the boat with
What
people.
made you want to do that?
I don't know, just being on
Like,
vacation
why
down
that
there and doing
specific-
that, because we stay at Wilderness Lodge all the time, and we would drive back and forth, and I thought, this would be a cool job to have after I retire. I'm not driving a bus, but I get to drive a boat, and I get to talk to people.
Well,
and,
because a lot of people have second lives
Yeah,
after retirement.
and,
They really did.
my parents retired, and then they moved to Florida, and then 6, 8, 10 years later, they moved back, and they miss the grandkids and things, and I get it.
Certainly.
But, my wife she's from Northwest Arkansas. She's from Fayetteville. She loves Northwest Arkansas. She loves snow. She loves cold weather. I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
And
Man.
I'd rather it be warm all the time than cold all the time. And so I don't think I'll ever get her in Florida. But, I think that
She likes the cold?
Oh, she loves it. She loves
Thrives
it.
on
Oh, God. She'd rather it snow than anything.
Really?
She loves it, yeah. And she's mad right now because she's down in Dallas, and then they got a little bit,
Yeah.
but we got snow up here, and she's mad because she wasn't here. So
This was a good snow, though.
It was
It
good
wasn't
snow.
an icy
Yeah,
thing. It
was
was
a
a
good one.
fun thing.
I like it.
We
Kids
got-
had a good time. I
Oh, man.
saw all the tracks out there. You guys
Oh,
are just.
dude, they were tearing
tearing
it
it
up.
up.
We went up and down Hamstring yesterday. It was slick and packed.
I bet.
I mean, golly, man. It's
bet.
insane how, the kids who grow up out here are different.
No, I'm sure.
Like,
I'm sure.
there'll be times when they'll be on it for 8 hours. They're just going exploring.
Just like we did back in the day.
Just like we did.
Yeah.
Because, we severely limit electronic time. It's an hour a day, assuming your chores are done,
Sure,
school's
sure,
done, right?
sure.
Right. You get an hour a day. There might be opportunities for something else, special occasions, whatever, but it's very limited, and so they've been forced to find other things to do. Whereas I know people whose kids have unlimited time, and that's
Right.
all they do.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no variety of thought. There's no exploration. And I think we're doing a great disservice to our kids.
No, I agree. It's ruining society.
Well, yeah,
to be
you
honest
said
with
that
you.
before,
It
but
is.
you
know,
really believe that.
No, I really do.
too.
I think that they need to be outside. They need to, be in nature, to be honest with you. I remember
Yeah.
leaving my house at 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever time it was. We had friends, we had kids growing up all in my neighborhood, Park Street. And we would leave, and my mom would say this, be back when it's dark.
Yep.
Be back before it's dark.
Yeah, you didn't
And
even
I
have
thought to myself,
walkie-talkies back then.
I didn't think about lunch. I didn't think
No.
about any of that kind of stuff. We just went and did what we did. And,
Yeah.
and whatever that was, and then we were back before dark, and that's how there was no, we had Atari back then.
Yeah.
I had an Atari system.
Yeah.
And that's how old I am, and again,
I had one too.
you don't have at my house.
That's all that was available was the Atari.
Exactly. And at my house now, I got 200 channels I can watch.
Yeah.
And back then, you had NBC, CBS, ABC, PBS, TNT, not TNT. You had TBS, and you had the one from Chicago.
Did you have
And that-
bunny ears ever?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You know,
Have
and
to
I'm
wiggle
sitting there
the-
thinking to myself,
Get the reception?
I didn't want to watch days of our lives with my, I wanted to go out and ride my bike with my friends, and I think we got away from that a little bit, and people don't understand how good of a life that was, to be honest.
Well, and I think it taught you lessons. You had to find things out for yourself.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because I think when your parents are overprotecting you, you're just not willing to risk anything.
No, I agree.
And if you're out on your own, man, can we do this? I mean, is it dangerous? Sometimes, man. And sometimes there's casualties, but you've heard the quote, hard times make strong men.
Sure.
Strong men create.
Sure.
Yeah, that whole cycle. I think we're coming out of a weak man cycle.
I hope so.
And I hope I feel like social media is finally kind of connecting us as people. I hope. If we can get away from all this censorship and just let everybody's voice be heard.
Sure.
Because if you're going to censor information, then if that information is true and you're censoring it, you've lost credibility. And I think that's finally been exposed.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
If I'm wrong about something, I'd prefer to know it.
Sure.
I'd prefer someone confront me and say, hey, present something else, because if they have a better argument, that ultimately makes my argument stronger, or I'm on the best side of logic. But I feel like people have denied truths for a long time.
I
feel like
agree with you. I agree with you.
We're getting to a good spot. But I'm optimistic, man. I guess my last question to you is, what would you say about that class of kids that made that championship run this year?
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that come to mind. Gritty, determined, never quit attitude. Those kids showed something to me that I thought that couldn't really have a chance to be done here. And I'm appreciative to them to show me that, because I thought we could win one in baseball. It's easier to do that in other sports. And football is a difficult thing to win. It's a difficult thing to get to the championship, especially in the 5A when you're dealing with a bunch of teams that are probably faster than you are.
Yeah.
But I think our kids did a tremendous job, and I have a lot of respect for that team.
A lot of heart, man.
Oh, God, yeah.
A lot of heart.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Coach, I'm proud of you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming on.
It was awesome.
I agree, man. That was
awesome.
That was fantastic.